So let me give you a brief history of TYT. So it started out as a radio show on Sirius XM in 2002 and immediately joined YouTube when the platform launched in 2005, seeking to, advantage of video. So TYT, in fact, was the first creator to strike, one of the first creators to strike a revenue sharing deal with YouTube years before content monetization became open to all users in 2007 with YouTube's Partner Program initiative. This, according to TYT executive Stephen O, who we interviewed, gave the progressive channel a first mover advantage. So TYT's audience more than doubled during the Obama's 2008 campaign. And this really got the mainstream liberal network's attention and recruited the main star and host of TYT, Cenk Uygur. So and this is him right here. So through 2010, MSNBC tested the YouTube personality Uygur as a substitute host for various shows. The progressive firebrand was an immediate ratings generator on MSNBC, and as a result, was given an anchor position in January of 2011 as host of MSNBC Live. Yet Uygur would leave MSNBC in acrimony just 6 months later. Even though YouTube's ratings were trending upward, in July of 2011, he was asked to move from his 6 p.m. time slot to the weekends, and Uygur promptly resigned, recognizing how this new schedule position would likely be a dead end. So Uygur's populist anchoring style was apparently too off-putting for the middle-brow sensibility of MSNBC's executive leadership. So MSNBC President Phil Griffin took specific issue with Uygur's aggressive body language. In a private meeting with the YouTube native, Griffin explained that internet-based media and cable television require different manners of speaking. According to Uygur, this conversation was not about body language. The real issue, the TYT founder insisted, was Griffin's contacts in Washington, D.C., and how they didn't appreciate Uygur's criticism of the Obama administration. Now, one can only speculate whose account of this conversation is true, but one thing that surely doesn't square here is Griffin's assessment of cable news as a medium, right? The highest performing hosts in the cable industry were the populist ones on Fox News. So one could argue that Uygur's manner of speaking, quote, was more in tune with the cable news format, not less, something Uygur himself has noted. So the same stylistic economic dynamics that propelled alt-right YouTubers in the Trump era also helped popularize, we must recognize, the atheist skeptic movement on YouTube and the anti-war voices on YouTube in the early or mid-2000s. Right. So specifically, it was TYT's impassioned rants against the Iraq war that put this DIY outfit TYT on the map. So let me show you one popular 2006 YouTube clip of TYT when it was, in its infancy, so you guys can get a sense of both its low budget style and its communicative style, or aesthetic and its communicative style.
In every major magazine, in every major television news organization should be fired today. 43% of Americans believe that Saddam Hussein was personally involved with 9/11. That is the worst failure of the mainstream press I have ever seen. And why do you think now 58% of Americans are opposed to the Iraq war? Do you know what that number would be if 43% of them didn't think Saddam Hussein did 9/11? That number would be like 3%. God damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're goddamn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks, in every...
So Uygur's rage over the mainstream media's complicity in legitimizing the Bush administration's narrative pretext for invading Iraq in 2002, a decision that ultimately cost millions of Iraqi lives and the lives of thousands of U.S. service members, seems quite justified. So here, sometimes it's reasonable to be emotional about a given issue, and conversely, to be emotionless in certain contexts can be equally inappropriate. Okay, so Uygur has complained that the mainstream media's over-focus on conservative creators on YouTube has set up a false equivalence between right-wing and left-wing forms of media populism. In a 2019 interview we did with the TYT host, he said the mainstream media thinks passionate must mean insane. That's because you guys cover Alex Jones, a popular right-wing internet personality. And he's passionate about things that are insane, about how the frogs are gay and how there's lizard people. Imagine if you had someone who was passionate about things that are true. So the crass commercial use of emotional spectacle to drive ratings and clicks, combined with the political right's recent ability to game the algorithms of social platforms using these emotional modes of communication, has made liberals rightfully skeptical, right, of these types of communication styles, right? But too often, however, this criticism of commercially motivated sensationalism leads the analyst to adopt simplistic Cartesian binaries that treat emotional expressiveness as inherently anti-intellectual and bad. As journalism studies scholars and social movement theory scholars have noted, emotion is not necessarily antithetical to good journalism and effective political strategy. In fact, it's often the precondition for both. So let me segue to my colleague, Matt. Take it from here.